Alright, hello and welcome. Thought I would try my hand at making flying or aviation themed videos, and this one will just kind of be a discovery flight. Just kind of introduce anybody who's interested in flying or knowing more about flying. We'll just kind of talk through the process as we go along. We'll just make a short flight over to a local airport, and I'll just kind of talk about everything along the way, and hopefully this introduces more people to flying. Make sure the avionics are off. You don't want to start the engine with the avionics running. You can cause a voltage spike. Carb heat is off. Mixture is full rich, and we want to throttle slight, and we'll prime. And we're going to hold the brakes. I'm going to check left, right, make sure the propeller area is clear. Turn our master on. Nobody behind us. Perfect. We're going to immediately look at oil temperature, oil pressure. Make sure those are coming alive. And then we're going to lean out the mixture here.
Turn the avionics on, so welcome again. Alright, we're going to raise our flaps. Actually, taxiing with full flaps down is an international sign for hijacking. So we don't want to give anybody the wrong idea. And then we will obtain the ATIS.
Return information, India, 1954 Zulu. Wind 20012, gust 20. Visibility 10. Sky conditions, ceiling 4,600 broken. Temperature 17, dew point 11, altimeter 2965. ILS approach runway 26 left ease, landing upon runway 26 left and runway 26 right. Advise on initial contact, you have India.
That was the ATIS, that stands for Automated Terminal Information System. That just tells us what the weather's doing out there. So it's a little bit of gust today in Crosswind. So we're going to start rolling. We're going to make sure our frequency is set to ground, which here is 121.7. Before we roll, we're going to turn our landing light on, signal our intention to start moving, and then aircraft will start moving forward. Once it starts moving, we're going to gently drag the brakes just for a check to make sure they're working. So brake check was good, and now we're going to keep going. We're going to go very slowly in these in this ramp area because there's other people, there's children. We're going to clear every corner before we turn it. Clear left, clear right. There's cars, so many things around here. And we're going to stay on the center line because we want all of our movements to be predictable. Once we're in view of the tower, we're going to say who, what, where, when, and why. So who we're talking to, who we are, what we know, and what we want. So to get to where we're going, it's going to take about we'll pretty much head straight out. So it'll be a 260. So we'll stop here once we're in view of the tower, so they can see us. Turn the landing light off again. Stop our intention from moving. Stop signaling our intention to move, and then we're going to ring up the ground here. So we're going to say again who, what, where, when, why. Good afternoon, Spirit Tower. Skyhawk 901 Papa Alpha is at Millionaire with India, requesting VFR departure, heading 260.
Skyhawk 901 Papa Alpha, Spirit ground, runway 26 left, taxi via Alpha.
26 left via Alpha for 901 Papa Alpha. Alright, so we cleared to taxi to the runway here based on what runway they're using and what our direction of flight will be. Clear left, clear right, so we're going to clear and we're going to listen to the frequencies too to make sure nobody's getting a
32 Yankee going to Millionaire.
instruction that might
32 Yankee roll out to Alpha 6, taxi to Millionaire via Alpha.
conflict with ours. So now, as we are headed down, we can just look at the windsock and what the windsock is doing. We have a quartering tailwind. So because of that, we're going to push yoke down and turn away from the dive away from the wind, basically. So what we're doing is we're putting the aileron down on that side from where the wind is coming from, because we don't want any we want to minimize the impact of the wind across the airframe. We're staying on the center line and we're taxiing at the pace of a brisk walk, clear left. We're clearing every intersection before we cross it. If we start getting too fast, we're simply going to drag the brakes for a moment and then let it accelerate. You don't really need more than 1,000 RPM generally. So taxi, takeoff, and landing is when we need a sterile flight deck. What that means is we don't want to be talking about what we're doing this weekend or anything else like that. We want to be very focused, clear left, clear right, because that big sky idea doesn't apply here. This is where all the aircraft are coming to. And we don't necessarily have radar monitoring or ADSB or the other tools that we might use for collision avoidance. We have to be paying attention. And the controls of an aircraft on the ground are quite different than the sky. So if you notice,
Roger, advise, prior to lift off.
to go right, that's not making the, airplane move right, we're actually steering with the rudder, because, you know, depending on the aircraft, clear left, clear right, the rudder is mechanically linked to the nose wheel, so that's how we're steering on the ground. So, you know, taxiing is a sensitive phase of flight that we have to be paying attention to. Once our tail's clear the runway, we're going to stop here.
Romeo Pop, we have India, attack air taxi.
And then we're going to turn our landing light on,
runway
and we
26
can do our run.
left.
Okay, so belt seats, flaps are okay. Fuel is on both. Trim is set for takeoff. Flight controls, we're going to make a box with the flight controls here. Going to make sure that they're up on the side the yoke is pointed to. Wiggle the rudder, make sure that so flight controls are free and correct. There's a stop. It's not just flying all over the place. Instruments we've been checking. Our heading right now is about 170. We'll check that again when we get out there. We want to be very precise with that. Make sure we're going to set the best power. The primer is definitely in and locked, and we're going to go to 1,700 RPM after looking behind us, making sure there's nobody that we get caught in our prop wash. 1,700 RPM, we're going to check the magnetos, so all that means we're going to go to right, good, back to both, left, good, back to both, and what we're looking for is, you know, the drops are even and not too much. Then we're going to pull the carb heat, a little drop there, oil temperature, pressure, amps, check some other things here, verify we covered everything. We're going to pull the throttle back to idle, and we're going to make sure the engine still runs. We have carb heat on, idle. Okay, that looks good. Now we've switched over to tower, and we're just going to tell them. I don't like to say like ready for takeoff or even to say holding short. I don't like to throw those words out there, so we'll just say ready for departure 26 left. Spirit Tower, Skyhawk 901 Papa Alpha, ready for departure 26 left, Alpha 1.
Skyhawk 901 Papa Alpha, on course approved, runway 26 left, clear for takeoff.
Clear for takeoff, 26 left, on course for 901 Papa Alpha. So now we're going to say lights, camera, action. So lights, camera,
Spirit Tower, November 124, want to go right close forward.
124,
finals clear. So lights, camera, action.
124,
We're going to pull out.
turn back to the airback ramp.
We're going to pull out on the runway. We're going to put our
124, echo, proceed direct
crosswind correction all the way in.
Direct to the airback
As we start accelerating, we're going to roll it out. And then you're going to see the airplane's going to immediately want to weather vane into the wind. We'll climb to like 2,000, maybe 2,500 today. We'll see what the clouds allow. All right. So now get nice and lined up on this runway, crosswind correction all the way in. And make sure this says 26, our heading indicator, and then we're going to take our feet off the brakes. Over 2 to 3 seconds, we're going to apply full throttle. You don't want to put the cylinders under a bunch of stress suddenly. And take off, gauges are green, and airspeed's already alive. Anticipated that right rudder. There we go. Welcome to the sky. See, immediately the airplane wanted to turn left into the wind. Alright. Alright, kind of gusty and unpleasant, but
503 Romeo Pop, holding short to 26 left.
you know, there's going to be days like this. There's going to
Cessna
be
901 Papa Alpha, when able, turn left due south, force the seat and jet traffic. I'll get you back on course momentarily.
turning due south for 901 Papa Alpha. So, you know, this is a kind of a busy airport, so we do what we can to accommodate jet traffic.
503 Romeo Papa, Spirit Tower, fly runway, heading runway.
So about 50 feet before our target altitude, we're going to start putting the nose over, pitching for the horizon. Let the airplane accelerate. Then we can set our cruise power.
Cessna 1 Papa Alpha, on course approved.
Back on course for 1 Papa Alpha. So now we're going to head kind of our other direction again. Alright, headed over to Washington.
Cessna 901 Papa Alpha, frequency change approved.
Talk to you soon, thanks, 901 Papa Alpha. Alright, headed over to Washington on this bumpy day. How do you fly this thing in general? Well, we make turns by use of coordinated use of the ailerons, which is controlled by the yoke, and the rudders. So if we turn to the left, we need to put in left rudder. We turn to the, and then if we just leave the yoke alone, it'll just keep turning. Turn to the right, and we'll use the right rudder, and it's just going to keep turning that way too. So what causes an airplane to turn? Well, the wings are creating a lift right now, and when we're in straight and level flight, that lift is pretty much just perpendicular to the path that we're flying. But when we turn, that lift vector turns with us, so now there is a horizontal component of lift, and it's that horizontal component of lift that is what allows us to make turns. And then now, so we're well out of the airspace now, we can do our last checklist item, turn off landing lights. Make sure we don't need to touch when we're not over 3,000 feet as a general rule of thumb. So now we're having a pleasant flight along the river. Look at that, the airplane flies itself even on a bumpy day. But you know, that's one of the most important things. If you feel nauseous or get nervous about flying, it's like, look, we're totally hands-free right now. Even on a bumpy day, my feet are on the floor, my hands are off the yoke, and the airplane is so stable it's flying itself. So we're going to approach Washington from the south. So how do we enter traffic patterns? Well, in a predictable way. So we're going to enter, I'm sure they're using runway 15, which is coming at us this way. So we'll enter midfield downwind at 45 degrees, and the traffic pattern altitude there is about 1,400, 1,500. So we don't want to be descending into the pattern, and we don't want to be doing anything weird like going straight in. Again, we want to be predictable. Alright, let's hear that again through the wind.
Washington Regional Airport, automated weather observation 2019er Zulu. Wind 220 at 10 knots. 19er knots.
220, that's a doozy. That's a doozy over there for runway 15. So that's almost a direct crosswind. So we'll see. So we'll start making radio calls now. We'll switch over to the local CTAF, which is the Common Traffic Advisory Frequency. So Washington traffic, Skyhawk 901 Papa Alpha, 8 miles to the east. We'll enter downwind 15 Washington. So, as you can see, we're getting bumped around a little bit, but what are we doing? We're not over controlling. You know, we're not fighting because that just makes it worse, and then you cause your own turbulence. You want to be very mindful of that on final 2. You don't want to be doing a bunch of large corrections. The other thing that we're doing is we're just trying to keep it flying straight and level, and we're accepting a few altitude changes, a few changes in airspeed, a few changes in heading, and we're just trying to keep it on course the best we can without over controlling or over fighting it. Washington Skyhawk 901 Papa Alpha, just south of the field, setting up for midfield downwind 15 Washington. Alright, we made our call. Now's a good time for our pre-landing checklist. So we're going to say clearance, gas, undercarriage. We don't have gear in this aircraft, or we have gear, we don't have retractable landing gear. Undercarriage mixture is rich. Propeller, we don't have the constant speed propeller. Switches, seatbelts. So we're going to turn our landing light on, and we're going to start our descent into Washington. We don't have to come down very far. So for a descent, we just take out the power. Gotta kind of loop around this river here, enter the downwind for Washington, take out the power, keep our airspeed here, start adding some trim, and then we'll be in good shape here. We're about at traffic pattern altitude. Washington, Skyhawk 901 Papa Alpha, entering downwind 15 Washington. Alright, traffic pattern altitude, so we're going to throw that power back in. Gonna get nice and oriented here. Flying parallel to the runway. Wanna get too slow here, and we're gonna kind of look for other clues down there. Yeah, that's gonna be a big right crosswind, but we're gonna see if we're up to the challenge. Once we're at beam of our landing point, which we're gonna call the 1,000-foot markers down there, we're going to pull the power, start kind of more configuring for landings. Clearance, gas, undercarriage, mixture, propeller. Okay. Here's a beam of our landing point, so we're going to take some power out. Once we're in the white arc, where it allows for flaps, we're going to put our first 10 degrees of flaps out there. Then we're going to try to, fly in a normal pattern here. So we're about to turn right onto our base leg. I can kind of feel the gusts already, but we're going to do what we need to do. Get down. Washington, Skyhawk 901 Papa Alpha is right base 15 Washington. So turning our base leg, especially on days like today, we want to avoid more than 30 degrees of bank in the pattern. Yeah, thing with high wings, you can't really see your runway too good here. Okay. So this is going to be a short base, because just think about where the wind is coming from. It's coming from behind us. Alright. Washington, Skyhawk 901 Papa Alpha's final 15, touch and go Washington. I like to add touch and go just to make my intentions clear. So you see the PAPI lights.
Watch the traffic system 3700 Papa 4 miles to the east, maneuvering 2500.
So you see we're a little high on our glide slope, but we'll come down. Put in that last 30 degrees of flaps because landing is assured. We're pretty high. I can take out the power. This is not the best pattern. But it's coming down. Look how much we're crabbing. So we're going to need a lot of left rudder, right aileron. Keep it coming down. And we're going to look for, yeah, about 75. 5 would be good. Alright, not trying to over control here. Now we can kick that rudder over so we're nice and aligned with the runway, powers all the way out. And then we're going to control the direction with the aileron here, and once it starts kind of running out of speed, keep pulling back, pulling back, pulling back. Nice, and we're going to roll the ailerons all the way into the wind and maintain our center line. Maintain center line. So we're going to put the flaps back up, trim a little bit, and then we'll be on the go. So take off. Gauges are green as we airspeed the line, so we're going to keep that crosswind correction in. Kind of pop off the runway here, and it's going to want to weather vane right into the wind. So you notice those 3 squeaks, so it was right main, left main, and then nose wheel. Washington, Skyhawk 901 Papa Alpha is on the go, 15 back to Spirit, Washington. Okay, so as you can see, touching down on one main, the upwind main, the other main, and then the nose wheel settles down. And in this video from before, I obviously didn't do a good job holding center line either. But Washington, Skyhawk 901 Papa Alpha has cleared the pattern 15, headed back to Spirit. We're looking for the other traffic in the area too. Washington. Kind of follow the river again.
And it's Fredericktown, not Buckle.
We're out of, we're cruising. We're out of the area. So turn the landing light off, and then guess what we're going to do? We're going to back everything up with the checklist. So cruise, power, mixture, instruments, lights are off. And we got
2.11, altimeter 2965. ILS approach runway 26 left east, landing at approach runway 26 left and runway 26 right. Advise on initial contact, you have India.
Still India, we haven't been gone that long. Still India, we're making...
Confirmation India, 1954 Zulu. Wind 200 at 12, gust 20. Visibility 10. Sky conditions, ceiling 4,600 broken. Temperature 17, dew point 11, altimeter 2965. ILS approach runway 26 left east, landing at approach runway 26 left and runway 26 right. Advise on initial contact, you have India.
There's a power plant here that's about 10 miles to the west. It's a VFR checkpoint. That's usually a good reference to use. So something we didn't talk about was just traffic back there. We're spending 80 to 90% of our time looking out the window. We're not getting fixated on the instruments. That's a big problem.
384, turn right.
People that use flight simulators a lot, they get very hung up on looking at the instruments inside. You got to be looking outside. Flying is all about visual reference. Climbing, turning, descending, it's all about the nose's relationship to the horizon. Not only that, but we want to be looking for traffic too, and seeing, looking at the weather, seeing what else is going on out there. So that's all very important. Alright, same thing, who, what, where, when, why. Hello again, Spirit Tower, Skyhawk 901 Papa Alpha is at the stacks with India, inbound landing, parking, Millionaire.
Skyhawk 901 Papa Alpha, Spirit Tower, and the left downwind runway 26 left.
Left downwind, 26 left, 901 Papa Alpha. Alright, we made our call. Now's a good, we're getting close to the airspace. Now's a good time to make our checklist. We'll say clearance, not yet, gas on both, undercarriage, mixture, propeller, switches. Landing light on, we don't need any other lights right now. And we're Good for landing, seatbelt's kind of always on. So now we're going to be flying a left-handed traffic pattern, so I want the runway to intersect the strut halfway up as opposed to 2/3 of the way. And again, there's a lot of wind we're going to have to account for. We're going to have to be crabbing. Alright, getting kind of close here, so we can start thinking about bringing her down not very far. We're going to take out some power, we're going to come on down, and we're going to, be thinking about C-gumps and have those things in mind. I think that's a really good habit to get into, because when you do start flying complex planes, it's been that way the whole time.
Takeoff 1 Papa Alpha, runway 26 left, clear to land.
Clear to land, 26 left, 901 Papa Alpha. Yeah, not too busy today. Gave us kind of an early clearance there. So we'll level off here. Alright, I thank you for joining me today. I think I might try to do some more of these. It would be nice to get a panel view. Alright, and you can tell kind of our crab angle because of that left crosswind. So we're getting blown into the runway. So those are just things to be aware of. Flying is fairly cerebral, so there's a lot of things that we need to be thinking, and the other thing that we always say is you have to stay ahead of the airplane and don't let the airplane get ahead of you. That's especially important with energy management concepts, and landing is one of them. Here we're at beam of our point, so we can take our power out and be kind of aggressive with the way we take our power out because we're higher than normally. So normally traffic pattern altitude is 1,000 feet above the field, but on this side due to the noise abatement procedures, and that's just specific to this airport, but those are usually published in the chart supplement for each airport, what the traffic pattern altitude is if it's non-standard. But normally most of them are 1,000 feet. Alright, turning base, and then we'll kind of turn right to final. Not a good habit to get into. You want your patterns to be very stable. Nice stable patterns. Alright, actually that's okay, we can level out here for a second. Put some more drag out there, try to get on the VASI. So we've seen two different kinds of glide slope assistance today, basically. One was the PAPI over at Washington, and now the VASI here. Alright, so now you can see, so this is, we can learn a lot. We can listen to the weather, and we can look at the windsock, but we can learn a lot just from being in the airplane. So what is this telling us? Quite a bit of left crab end. So you can see we also have the displaced
70 Sierra Pop, Spirit Tower, and right down runway 26 right.
Displaced threshold here. We don't want to land on those arrows, those are for takeoff only. Alright, throw our last bit of flaps in there. Sometimes you don't use full flaps with wind, but I don't, it's never mattered to me too much. Okay, this is a decent amount of, we're carrying a little bit of extra energy with us down here, and then same rules apply. Once we get down here, in the ground effect, we're going to pull the power about now. Now look at that, we're going to throw that nose over with right rudder, we're going to control our direction with relation to the runway with aileron. Once we're down here, we're just going to hold her off just like we normally would. Hold her off like we normally would. And roll in that crosswind correction, and don't, see it's trying to, there we go, holding that center line a little better.
1 Papa Alpha, right Alpha 5, taxi to Millionaire via Alpha.
Right Alpha 5, then Millionaire via Alpha for 91 Papa Alpha. As we keep rolling here, so carb heat's back in. Mixture's out, we don't need the strobes on anymore. Clear left, clear right, flaps are coming up. And then we verify everything, leave the landing line with the checklist. So after landing checklist, we hit all of them. Put the trim back down too for the next guy. Alright. We're just going to taxi our way back over, just like we got here, staying on the center line, keeping that crosswind correction in. So now we have now the crosswind's coming from this way. So now we're just going to turn into it. We're going to go very slow on the ramp for the children. Be nice to everybody, because being nice there are not many more important things than being nice. So you're going to be nice to everybody, wave, avoid nice cars here. Alright, so when we stop, we're going to be very gentle on the brakes. What we don't want is any sudden lurches forward, so that was pretty smooth. Turn the landing light off again. Then we're going to turn the avionics off, so I'm going to lose you. Then I'm going to pull the mixture here.
We've flown an airplane. Thank you for joining me, and we might see you next time.